Hey Ciaran, how are you?
Good, thanks, Sean. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about your experiences of working with me. Do you want to just share a little bit about where you're from and what you do?
Sure. My name's Ciaran. I'm a physiotherapist and a business owner. So I own a small practice in Caringbah, which is near Cronulla in Sydney. I've got 3 other physios working for me, 2 receptionists working for me. I'm also a mum of 1, so a 2.5-year-old, and I'm 38 weeks pregnant. So I'm about to have my second child as well.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So do you want to just share a little bit about where you were at when we first started working together, like 9 months ago now, I guess, and what things looked like then?
Sure. So I guess March this year was when I started chatting with Ciaran and like thinking and looking into things. I think I was sort of almost at that breaking point where it was like the business needed to start to work better for me and my family a bit more, because it was taking a lot more than it was giving back to our lives. And we wanted to try for baby number 2, and I was feeling a bit stressed and worried about that. We'd just come through, I'm in Sydney obviously, so we'd just come through big lockdown for the year before, and it looked like 2021 was going to be pretty similar in terms of lockdowns and things changing all the time. I'd always been the main physio in my business, so I'd been the main full-time worker, and then I'd had a part-time physio working for me, but I never seemed to be able to build up the other physios in my business. So everyone always wanted to come back and see Ciaran. Everyone, I had wait lists. When I started working with Ciaran, I had a wait list probably about 5 or 6 weeks long, but big gaps in my other therapist books. And it just never seemed to get any easier. So I had to do all the business stuff, but then I also had to see all the patients as well to keep the cash flow coming in.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Ciaran early on, I don't know why I just don't go back to being a contractor for someone else and just working in someone else's business, or just working as a solo operator again. Maybe that'll be a whole lot easier. I'd probably make more money and less stress of staffing and trying to find staff all the time.
And I remember being like really heartbroken getting off the phone when we first had that chat, because you said to me, we really want to have a second baby, but last time I took time off, the business fell over and I just can't do that again, but I don't want to have a baby and have to go straight back to work, but we really want a second baby. And just being like, okay, well, we've got to do this for you, because if you want to have a second baby, it's got to be able to happen, and your business can't create that level of sacrifice, nor should it. And I think I said to you at the time, like, it's really, really common where you find yourself, and I know people watching this back who have listened to that and be like, yeah, that's me, working the hardest, making the least. So it's really common. Did you have any reservations about joining the program or working with me?
I guess in the past I'd spoken to other business coaches, and a couple of messages that they'd given me was my business wasn't at the right stage. I wasn't developed enough to be working with a business coach yet, or a business coach at their level, which really broke me a bit when I spoke to them, because it was like, well, how do I make that next step to get to that level you need me to be at to start to work with me as a business? And I think as well, some of the things they sort of said, oh, well, you have to sort of wait till after you've had your kids to grow your business anymore. Like, it's just going to be almost like, it was just this, oh, okay, well, it's a stalling point. You're a female business owner, you're going to be having these time off with having kids. So you're just going to have to just ride it out. And then once you get through having your kids, maybe then you can focus on your business a bit more.
Yeah.
Which didn't sit well with me. And a lot of the business coaches as well, it was all very much like, you need to reduce your appointment times and increase the amount you're charging people. And it was all very money focused, which, don't get me wrong, the money is important and we all need to be making more money for the amazing work we do. But at the same time, it didn't sit right with me. But then I guess speaking and listening to you and doing your 5-day course and seeing what you were about, it just felt different. So and then I spoke with some other physios who'd worked with you already and the changes it made in their business. And I guess the biggest reservation, like everyone probably, would be the amount of financial output. But I was also at that point where if I didn't invest in the business and make a change, I was going to give it up anyway. So for me, it was sort of like do or die. It was like I was ready to make the jump and I needed something to change. Otherwise, I was going to change something drastic and, close down the business and go back to being a solo operator or something like that.
And change your business hasn't it? Tell me a bit about what your business looks like today, as you are obviously pregnant. So we got you to a place where that felt okay. But what else has changed?
So I guess the biggest thing that's changed is just, I'd say, the processes that are in place. The processes that are in place that make the day-to-day running of the business less reliant on me. It's empowered my staff to take on more and to do more within the business. And anyone who's worried about empowering their staff or feeling like they're overburdening their staff by giving them other roles, it's the complete opposite. It's, you give people responsibility and they thrive with it and they run with it. And if you've got the right people and you've got the right tasks for them, you find what they really love doing. So say one of my receptionists used to work within a bank and be a manager within St. George Bank. And so for her to be given a lot of the bookkeeping roles and, you know, stock take roles and those sorts of things, her brain was like, yes, I love Xero. This excites me. I can't wait to do it. Whereas Xero, you know, I don't love it all. The numbers, I don't love at all. So the fact that she loves that and we can upskill her and we can empower her to be in charge of that means that she runs payroll for me and she does that side of the things, and it frees up more time for me to do other things in the business. One of my other receptionists, we've set her up with all processes so that she's setting up all our social media posts, and she's a younger girl, so she loves doing all that sort of stuff and she's really excited by that. So we give her all the content and the framework to do that, and she just does those posts and put them together. My physios are reaching out to referrers. My physios are bringing in their own referrals rather than everyone being referred to Ciaran.
Yeah. And we've got the biggest thing for you, wasn't it? Because that's what happened when you went off last time. Like you said to me, I didn't realise until I stepped out that everyone was referring to me, and it was overflow that was filling my clients, because as soon as people knew I was on maternity leave, all the referrals disappeared. But that isn't the case at all now, is it? Like your team have their own referrals coming in, and you know, you can already see, like you're already on maternity leave, right? I'm having to work really late, and I'm sure there's still no referrals coming in for your team, right?
Yep, that's it. And I mean, like, you know, this week we're in Sydney and Omicron's hit, and so caseloads have been dropping. People have been dropping like flies with isolation and things like that. But Emma has something like, who's out, my full-time physio, she has something like 10 new referrals this week that are booked online or booked, you know. So the fact that even though her books have emptied a fair bit with, you know, current clients, they will come back because they're just in a 7-day isolation. But she's had the room in her books now to gain 10 new patients in a week, which is really great. So it's nice seeing that and heartening to see that, even with a big lockdown, not lockdown, but big case numbers, that people are still booking in.
And how long has Emma been with you? Is that might be pushing 6 months now, is it?
6 months, just over 6 months.
Yeah. And it's funny you saying that, because I remember saying, probably around the time you go on maternity leave, you're going to need somebody else to come in. And that sounds like that's kind of where you're at if you keep getting those levels of referrals. Right?
Yeah.
And how would you feel about that? Like, because the biggest thing I find with business owners is that they get to this point where everyone's they can get to this point where people are busy, and they think they need someone else to come on, but they're scared about bringing someone on and not being able to fill them. Like, how do you feel now about, do you have any reservations about bringing someone on and filling their diary?
Probably just physical space within the building when I come back from maternity leave, and one of my other physios comes back from maternity leave, would be the biggest reservation. I remember you saying before I hired Emma that we'd be able to fill her books in 6 months, and I was like, okay.
Whatever. I'll be pleased when I see that if it happens.
Yeah, I think that was it. I was sort of like, okay, yeah, sure. But it did. It happened in less than that time. And obviously it's the right person, but also having the right processes in place and attracting the right clients for that physio. But I feel a lot more comfortable both with filling a new therapist books, but also in hiring and interviewing new potential therapists and finding the right fit for our
We did a lot of work on that, didn't we? You're building your culture and knowing how to attract the people that would resonate with your culture and be right for your culture, because we had to work through some issues with that early on, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
So how has all of these, obviously your business is really healthy, you've got a great team, they're doing really well, you've been able to step out, the business is still thriving. And you mentioned actually just before we jumped on, we looked at your numbers, and you've actually seen a 60% increase in your revenue in the last 10 months. And Sydney had one of the toughest lockdowns in that period too as well. Like you guys were in a 3-4 months, stage 4 lockdown, where people aren't coming out, or they're in isolation, or they're sick. So I think actually you would have probably seen more like 75 to 100% had it not been that situation. So your business is great. You're having your baby. You're obviously the business is in good shape. What does that mean for you personally to have been able to go from where you were feeling like you were kind of trapped and, almost like scared to have a second baby and what the impact that would be for your family and business, to now having a baby in a few weeks and, everything running smoothly? What difference has that made for you?
I think it's the relief and almost excitement about my business again, which is something that you lose a little bit. Like it's exciting to think about, when I come back after this baby and where the business will be moving to then, and what else we'll be looking to grow or to expand or do things differently. So I think that's nice to have that excitement back, rather than just the stress and the worry and the feeling like you're working the hardest for the least pay and no one else cares as much as you do. We had a beautiful Christmas party this year with a great team, and it was really nice to have that time with everyone and see the amazing women, because I mainly have girls working for me, but the amazing women that we have in our business, and a lot of them are mothers. So like seeing a lot of them, excel and be able to juggle things a bit better. And I feel like this time around, it's obviously going to be harder with 2 kids, but it's really nice to have some more support in place in the business so that things aren't as reliant on me from day dot when I go off.
And what does that mean for what has that meant for your family, for you? Because when your business is really stressful, I know when I go through those periods, I'm never fully present. Like your brain is always running through the business scenarios and worries and concerns, even while you're there at home. Have you noticed a difference for your family?
Yeah, I have. I've noticed, just particularly this Christmas period, since I went off on mat leave, I could actually relax and not be thinking about the business all the time. And, when my 2.5-year-old goes down for a nap, not be quickly trying to jump onto my computer and do things. I could have a nap, or I could do some things around the house, or I could spend some time with my husband. Those things mean that I could feel like I wasn't just being a bit mediocre at everything, because that's, I think, where a lot of us get to, is we're trying to juggle too much. And on our home days, like you said, our brain isn't there, we're not really present, and then we're getting snappy with our toddlers because, we're
trying to run payroll while they want to play with us.
Exactly. So it's nice now to have that differentiation and to feel like I can, when I'm at home, I'm fully present at home, and then when I have work things to do or I'm at work, I can be fully present at work. And I feel like that comes down to those systems. I feel like I'm a lot more productive in those times when I am at work, rather than times that I'd previously blocked off before working with you for, working on the business. And I'd get there and I'd be like, so what do I need to do? And you felt like you didn't know what were the next steps. So you were just trying to do a bit of this and then a bit of that, and just keeping your head above water rather than having something systematic to the point where, I've planned out everything for the next 8 to 9 months with my staff, and who they're reaching out to, and what we'll be doing in newsletters or social media or things like that. And that's really nice.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because I think a lot of women, when they don't know the steps, and kind of going back to you saying about those other coaches, they start to feel a bit like they're stupid, like I should know how to do this, and maybe I don't know how to grow a business. But I find, you women are really intelligent women. You're all at least degree educated, if not master's educated. It's just, you don't know what you don't know. And I find like once I give people the steps, you then are like, oh, I know what to do. Now I can map it all out. I can be strategic. I can do all these things. You just didn't know what you needed to be doing to action that. But I find a lot of women can end up feeling really like their confidence takes a real battering, because they think, oh, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not good at business. Maybe I can't do this. But it's just not that lack of knowing what you need to know.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think my confidence is well down. I remember saying to my husband lots of times, like, oh, I'm a good physio, like I really am, but I don't think I'm a very good business owner, or maybe I'm not the best at mentoring staff, or maybe this isn't the best and I'm not very good at hiring, and your confidence just feels down on everything.
Does that change?
Hugely. I mean, you know, I was trying to hire a new staff member just before Christmas, and I took risks in that recruitment process, you know, in terms of went hard and offered bigger than I thought, or, you know, chased different people and tried to headhunt people. And that wasn't anything I would have done previously.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would have put up a fee card and then sat there and waited and hoped that someone came in from that. And when no one did come in, I'd be thinking, well, what do I do now? Yeah. But yeah, I think my confidence in going after people and knowing our worth as a business and what we can offer people and our point of difference as a business is something that's really helpful and has given me a lot of confidence in terms of stuff.
That's so true, because I think people think marketing is just about getting clients, but you've got to be able to market your practice, especially in the moment with it being so competitive to get staff. You've got to be able to market your practice to attract staff in, because they're, you know, you're not the only person offering a job to them potentially, and you've got to be able to explain why you're different. So what would you say to someone who's thinking about working with me?
I would say do it. I would say if you're already looking into it, then you know something needs to change in your business. Like, you've already felt that, you know. And if you feel like what Ciaran's speaking about resonates really well with you, and often as female business owners, I think that's your biggest point of difference, is that what you say, you understand what it's like to be a mother and to be juggling a business. And you've worked with so many women who are trying to grow their business as well as do something else at the same time. I think make the change, because the amount of change that I made in 8 or 9 months of working with Ciaran has made a huge difference to my business, but also to our personal life, and has meant that, you know, I can comfortably go off on maternity leave and take, you know, 4 to 6 months off and feel comfortable and happy that the business will still be fine, and I'll come back to it and it will still be fine.
And be paid during that time. That was the other thing, right? And it makes me so happy that we achieved that. It's a big tick. So the final thing I just want to ask you, do you, because obviously all I talk about is having like success without sacrifice. Do you feel like you've got to that place now where you're having success and it's not really coming at a huge sacrifice for you, and you can see how you can continue that? Yeah,
I downloaded a leadership book this morning because I thought, oh, things are feeling a bit easier. Maybe
I'll throw myself back in the fire.
Well, that's it. I thought maybe I'm like the business is plateauing, or, you know, just because things are easier, I'm now not content just to sit there. Like, obviously I'm about to go on maternity leave, so I'm not making any huge jumps at the moment. But I was listening to an audio book while I was walking this morning, and I thought, oh, I'm ready and I'm excited for more things to change and to grow in the business. Because I feel like I'm not sacrificing as much, whereas previously I wouldn't have had the brain space or the capacity to think about what the next steps are and how do I grow the business more, because I was just so overrun and my health was taking a battering and our family was taking a battering, and I thought it's not worth it. So the fact that I'm looking at growth makes me feel like, oh, it has worked, because there's no way you can think about the next steps if you're just trying to keep your head above water. Yeah.
I love that. Well, we can touch base when you had your baby and we'll go again. And we'll see where we go next time.
Yeah. Well, that was my biggest question to you when I finished up with you. I said, where do I go now? What do I do now? What's my next
step?
You
have your baby and you take some time out, because 1 to 2 is a big jump. And then we'll touch base again in a few months' time when you're like, right now I'm bored stiff because my baby sleeps a lot. What are we doing next? Well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences, Ciaran. It's been so lovely. It was so lovely to work with you, and I'm sure we'll work together again. And it's been so inspiring to listen to you today. It's made me really emotional, because I know where you were at, and to see, like I said to you, when you jumped on, you're all sun-kissed and relaxed and confident, and like that's why I do what I do.
Yep, thank you so much. You're very good at what you do, and you've made a huge difference to my business, but also my life and my family's life. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today.
No worries.